And I'm afraid it also looks like Mary Barnard has had another unfortunate end to the race, because she's just pulled into the pit lane, having failed to take the checkered flag, Josh.
Yeah, that's right. So disappointing end for a pair of drivers there. But not disappointing for Ben Hansey, because he is a race winner here at Croft in the third round of the Switch MX5 Cup by 5 Club Racing.
Ben Hansey, then the winner, number 40, 9 laps completed, and he was 1.4 seconds ahead of number 92, Jordan Johnson. Third place went the way of number 17, Oak Richardson. Fourth to number 13, Scott Leach, and fifth to number 230, Tom Holland. The early leader, Ian Tomlinson, number 9, took sixth. Then we need to add 5 seconds to Adrian Johnson's time, so that will drop him to 10th place in number 22. 7th will be 32, Jake Micklewright. 8th, 21, Matthew Penner-Fartherneel. 9th, 29, Martin Vernon. Then 10th, Adrian Johnson. Then it'll be Samuel Gormer, David Brown, Nico Favreau and Matthew Short after his spin at the complex mid-race. Andrew Robinson, Arden Wardley, Philip Barrett and Neil Burrows, who lost Mary Barnard and Martina Ward right towards the end of that race as well. So that's the Switch MX5 Cup by 5 Club. And that's their first 3 rounds of the season completed. They'll have another triple header for their next meeting. That's at Anglesey in 4 weeks' time. Then they go to Mallory Park and the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. They have double headers at both of those venues before going back to triple headers for their final 3 events of the year at Snetterton on the 300 circuit, Silverstone on the international circuit, and at Donington Park as well. So lots of racing as ever for the 5 Club Racing MX5 Cup. And we look forward to seeing them in action again at Anglesey. And that means that we've just got one more race left to go for this weekend. That is going to be the feature race of the weekend, though, the Tequila ClubEnduro Championship. Very shortly we'll head downstairs, though, to hear from our top 3. And we can go down to Chris Stevens right now to hear from Oak Richardson, Jordan Johnson and Ben Hansey.
There's 3 different winners in the 5 Club Racing MX5 Cup, and Ben Hansey, you've been threatening to do this all weekend. You finally managed to do it.
Yeah, the reverse grid always helps a little bit, mix things up. And it was a good little battle for the first couple of laps, and then a bit more short-esque. I checked out and then watched them all battle on behind me.
I mean, just talk us through that initial battle. It looked fairly intense.
Yeah, Scott's a wily old fox. He's been doing Mazdas since I was a kid, I think. So he's got a few tricks up his sleeve. But he managed to tuck himself up a little bit up at Tower, and I got the run on him, and then, as I say, checked out.
Great stuff, congratulations. 3 podiums for you as well this weekend. Great weekend overall. Jordan Johnson in 2nd place. Another cracking drive where you managed to just pick off cars one by one. Seemed like you were going for slightly more aggressive moves this time, though.
Yeah, again, I didn't really get the start I wanted to, and I was trying. It wasn't going as easy as it did in the last race with the moves. So yeah, I had to get my elbows out a bit. Me and Oak had a good battle at the end there. I don't think I put him in the gravel too much, but I was trying to keep my car on the track as well. So yeah, good battle.
Yeah, it seemed like initially you were just finding your rhythm, finding your pace, and then you just start striking.
Yeah, that's it. I always feel like my car's a bit better in the second half of the race. So I think if I just don't overdrive it in the first half, I can start picking off in the end, second half of the race, and that's what I've been able to do today. So well happy.
Great stuff, well done. Congratulations on 2nd place. Let's grab a very quick word with Oak Richardson. Oak, I mean, you scored a few podiums last season, but you've managed to do 3 in 1 weekend here.
Yeah, it's all right, isn't it? Could have been better, could have been worse. Quite close on the last lap. There was nearly a big shunt, but Jordan backed out of it, so all's good.
Expecting this form to continue throughout the rest of the season?
Yeah. Well, can only hope, can't we?
Great stuff, great stuff. All right, I'd love to chat more, I really would, but as you can hear, the next group of cars are already on their way out. Coming up next is the main event of the weekend, the one we've all really been waiting for. It is the start of the Tequila ClubEnduro Championship.
Yes, the first round of the 2023 season for the Tequila ClubEnduro Championship is shortly to get underway here at Croft. A 2-hour race ahead of us. We saw qualifying earlier on, and the car that we thought was going to be on pole position actually isn't because of a technical infringement, more of which are known. So it means that on the front row of the grid we have the number 1 car, pole position of the reigning champions. Carl Swift will be starting the car and handing over to Rob Baker, but it's a new car for them this season. Besides them on the front row is number 27, which will be started by Mark Grice in the Seat Cupra. The second row on the inside is going to be number 14, that's going to be Adam Bessel starting the Ginetta, besides number 6, which will be started by Dylan Brichter in the Audi TT. Row 3 on the inside is going to be number 2, Joel Oswick, the reigning Class C champion, and number 69, Matthew Hampson, who will be starting the BMW. On the fourth row on the inside, it's going to be number 87, Brad Kaler starting that car, and next to him is the solo driver, number 51, Luke Handley. On the fifth row on the inside, it's going to be number 82, that's the car of Ben Williams, the Cupra. He'll hand over to Christopher Wallace, and next to him is number 15, that's the Colin Gillespie car, the Cupra, the driver from Scotland. Row 6 on the inside is the Lotus of last year's Croft race winner, number 48, William Stacey, and besides him is the Porsche Boxster of number 43, Steve Cheatham. On the 7th row is going to be number 22 on the inside, that's Luke Rouse in the BMW, and 89, Scott Parkin, our Class B pole position car in Volkswagen Golf TDI, the diesel car. On the 8th row on the inside is going to be number 70, Colin Wilmot in the Seat Super Copa, and 91 is Christopher Plaskett in the Golf GTI. On the 9th row it's going to be 235, that's Charlie Dark starting the BMW M235i, and next to him should have been Joe Williams, but he's going to be a non-starter after an issue in qualifying. The 10th row on the inside is number 29, Andy Roby in the BMW 1 Series, and 78, that's the Team Dynamics Audi, I should say, started by Matthew Stockford. On the 11th row on the inside it's the number 8 Ginetta G40, Chris Webster starting that car, and 71 is the Class B Mazda MX-5 Mark 1, Ben Short. We'll hand over to the man who's just won the MX-5 race, Ben Hansey. Row 12 on the inside is the solo driver, number 76, Michael Downey in the Porsche Boxster S, and 59 making his ClubEnduro debut in a Lotus Elise, it's Jim Benson. On to row 13, that's the number 10 car, the Ginetta G40 will be started by Rob Fennick, fastest car in Class C, and alongside him is number 16, John Peerless. On the 14th row on the inside it's number 23, ex-Castle Coombe Hot Hat racer Matthew Baldry, but the car started by James Johnson, and besides him is number 11, Daniel Sarno in the Honda. On the 15th row it's number 17, that's Spencer Fortag in one of the Enduro cars, and 56, David Lawrence in another of them. And then at the back of the grid, the final of the Hondas by Totas Pipiras. So 31 cars we should have had, 30 we will have because we lost the Joe Williams number 88 car. Here is the car on Class B pole position. That is Scott Parkin, and he is pretty much well up there on row 7 of the grid, more or less in the middle of the grid. Good to have the onboard camera there. But Josh, we should probably just explain what happened to the car that we thought was going to be on pole position.
Yes, that's right. James Collins and Nigel Greensill qualified fastest this morning. After each session, cars go to park firmly, make sure the cars are within the regulations, and that car was below its weight limit. So therefore the car got excluded from qualifying and will have to start from the pit lane. New pit lane regulations for this year. Like last year, the pit lane opens after 30 minutes, but if the safety car is out, the pit lane will be closed. So that's a new regulation for this year. Massively competitive qualifying session, and now we look for potentially just as competitive race over the course of the next 2 hours.
So safety car pulls in, it's the number 1 car started by Carl Swift on pole position, besides him is number 27 Mark Grice. The red lights go out and 2 hours of racing underway at Croft Circuit for the Tequila ClubEnduro Championship. Don't forget we've got the fastest BMW from qualifying due to start from the pit lane as well, so we'll see what happens there. But it's Mark Grice that's gone into the lead of the race at Clervaux Corner, then from the outside of the front row of the grid ahead of Carl Swift. Swift and Baker switching from the Seat to the Golf for this season. It looks like everyone is safely through the first couple of corners, and then it looks like it is the car started by Dylan Brichter in third position, the Audi TT, having got ahead of the Ginetta piloted by Adam Bessel. That's dropped back down to 4th position.
I think Dylan Brichter is now due to drive 2 cars because he's also going to share Brad Kaler's Audi, so he's going to be busy during the course of this race. But for second place, a big challenge from him in the TT, all over the back of the champion, Cole Swift. And we can ride on board with the Audi driver now, the Darkside developments, Audi TT. The leader's off, the leader is off the road, so that is Mark Bryce in the Sayat, gone straight on down there at Sunny, so into the lead. Familiar sight from last year is Cole Swift, the Sayat only now rejoining the circuit.
Yeah, so probably something like that 7th or 8th position. I wasn't quite sure whether he was going to get back on the road at all or whether he was going to get into the barriers possibly, but fortunately for Mark Bryce he avoided that. So end of lap 1 is going to be 2 VAG group cars, first and second, and it's going to be Dylan Brickton that's going to have the lead, I think, as they go over the line at the end of the first lap. Yes, he does. So the Audi gets ahead of the Golf of Carl Swift. That goes down to second. It's the Ginetta in third of Adam Bessel, number 14, and fourth place is that Joel Oswick, I think. Yes, it is, number 2, last year's Class C champion, having his first race in a Class A car.
Absolutely right, so plenty going on. Luke Handley's made a good start, but he started 8th and is up to a 5th position there. And good to see Rob Boston Racing got the William Stacey car out after it had a head gasket going quali, so get the back luck out early. And what can Will Stacey do? Last year's winner of this race there in the Lotus Elise S2. Field make their way here down into Tower Bend, looking out for the Class B leader there. It's got parking, a big lock up from the RS3 Audi of the newcomer there, driving it, Matthew Stockford. We managed to get the car stopped at the end of the straight, but yeah, Class B leader there, Scott parking only just ahead of Chris Plaskett in the Class B specification, Area Motorsport Volkswagen Golf.
And of course Scott only did a handful of laps in qualifying this morning before deciding to park it, thinking that he had done enough. Now that is the 89 car of parking, and he is getting past there the number 82 car, Ben Williams, in the Seat Cupra. So it looks like he's made a couple of places on this lap, Scott parking, as the leaders come through to complete another lap. There's a change in the top 4 at the end of that. Mark Rice of course came across the line in 8th place at the end of lap 1, having had that off at Sunny, but he's still in 8th position now as we now move on to lap 3 of the race.
And they turn their way through Hawthorne. There's Stacey right on terms there with Colin Gillespie, who I think is now also due to drive a second car in this race, because he's going to take over from Ben Williams rather than Christopher Wallace, so we'll check that all happens a bit later on. According to my timing spell, I think this might be a glitch, that the MX-5's got the fastest lap, but I'm not quite sure if that's actually accurate. We'll see if the race goes on, whether that car moves up the order. But there for second place, now the Ginetta coming into contention. Adam Bessel really pushing on, and the smaller cars coming good, because Will Stacey as well really putting pressure on, although saying that, he himself is under some kind of pressure from yesterday's Road Sports winner, Mark Bryce, who had that off on the opening lap of the race. But now that Dylan Bruchetta is ahead of him, he is not putting away. They've got 8 cars in a line making their way through the complex.
Number 17 from Class C, Spencer Fortak, has come into the pit lane very early on in this race. So we're watching for the leaders coming through. That is the Spencer Fortak car, getting some attention.
And it's absolutely side by side on the other side of the circuit. You saw in the background between, here we go, Will Stacey being squeezed up against the pit wall by Colin Gillespie. Now can Stacey get around the outside with the light Lotus? No, he can't. Can he get the switchback? No, the car's so small, there's nowhere to get past this big Sayat in comparison. If you're on the road, you wouldn't really think Sayat was that big, would you, Ian? But next to a Lotus, it looks to be.
It certainly doesn't. It's the height of the car that makes the difference, really, doesn't it, to perception there. Of course, the Lotus being much more low slung. So we've got a really good race on our hands here. We've got Stacey there, winner here at Croft last season, trying to attack and defend all at the same time. We've got Mark Rice behind him. We've got Colin Gillespie ahead of him. Luke Handley in front of that in the Golf, and there's a little bit of a gap before we get to the top 4 cars. And who is the fastest of those top 4 cars? It is the race leader, isn't it? The Dylan Brichter Audi.
Only slightly though, and I wonder if Adam Bessel could find a way past Cole Swift, whether the Ginetta could go any quicker. It's got a big slide on there through the complex. But certainly Pachetta not getting away here from the leader from Cole Swift in P2. It's out the hairpin, that's where the Audi TT gained the lead, and that's where he seems to just be able to pull clear from the pack. How's James Collins getting on from his pit lane start? Well, he's got himself into the top 25 now as he works his way through the order, and this is the race leader's view.
Yeah, that's right, and that's the car just heading around Hawthorne. Now already there's going to be some traffic to deal with before too much longer in the form of Vytautas Pipiras in the Lithuanian coloured Honda Civic, Lithuanian flag coloured Honda Civic. That's just a bit further up the road. But the first four seem to have settled down somewhat. Not the case in the next four, because Mark Bryce, after that off halfway around the opening lap, is desperate to try and make amends for that, isn't he, and recover some places. And he's not yet been able to do so. Still there in 8th position. The car's filed through the Jim Clark S's for the 5th time.
Then into Croft, down into Sunny. This is where the Sayat of Bryce looks like he can challenge, but never can. As Will Stacey brakes late into there. Now they've got the traffic soon, but before they get to that, top three look well. Yeah, they just got past that traffic, hadn't they? That's got the top three right together. Pachetta, Swift, Bezel, as they make their way through, and this is where the Audi is quick off this corner. And I wonder if it's a front wheel drive Golf, just can't pull its power down there. Meanwhile behind, Will Stacey's got alongside and ahead of Phil Driver, ahead of Colin Gillespie, I should say, in the car he shared with Phil Driver. So a big slide there for Swift, he's saved it. What's happening behind? Gillespie's gone straight off, and is he going to go into the tyre wall here? Not quite.
And you can see there is some bodywork missing from the front of the Sayat there, the 15 car. So I think there was a little bit of touch between Gillespie and Stacey there, and Gillespie is the one that's lost out, dropped down to 8th position, falling behind the Cupra of Mark Bryce now as well.
But like Will Stacey, he had his hand out the cockpit there, so there was a touch. Is there a problem there with the Lotus as well?
I'm just seeing if there's any evidence of a touch on the back of that car.
He's immediately gone to Luke Handley, isn't he? So I think there's lots of pace in that car, and when we get to clear road ahead of Will Stacey at some point, so we'll see if he can unlock that pace. Potentially. There's Luke Handley, the Class B champion for the last 3 years, having his first go in the Class A spec car, same car, just bigger turbo, more power in the top class therefore. Not that far behind this group is Brad Taylor there in 9th place. Here comes Stacey trying to get alongside Handley, can't quite do it. Both these drivers have been in Class B before, haven't they? Will Stacey started off there, and here we go down the inside of the Golf. He made a move lap ago at that corner, and now he knows how to make it work. Can, though, Will Stacey hang on up towards Clairvaux, because it's the end of the straights where the Lotus Elise hasn't got the power, but I think he had such a good run through the final corner. Will Stacey then is up to 5th, and how quickly can he get up to the back of the rest? There's a big dive up the inside there from Mark Bryce to follow him through. He's into 6th, who equally should be quick after qualifying at the top, or the front row of the grid anyway.
Yeah, it was actually 3rd fastest in qualifying that car. Although of course we have the car that was taken out of the qualifying results because of the underweight issue. That car's just going past our commentary box now actually, the Collins and Greensill BMW. Here's the leader, and a bit more pressure on the 2nd place man now. Carl Swift from Adam Bessel and Ginetta, and William Stacey trying to go after Stacey the PB on the last lap.
Big slide from Mark right through Barkeroff. He's really pushing on, trying to cling with Will Stacey, but Stacey is going away and catching Joel Oswick, who was a 2.5 ahead at the beginning of the lap. He's pretty much there now, so this is a good chance to be the fastest lap of the race, I would think, from Stacey, as the leaders are in traffic once more. And one thing I've noticed about Cole Swift's car, that Golf moves around a lot. more than the car they've raced in the past. But there's Stacey right with Joel Oswick. That appears to be the quickest car as we have issues in the pit lane here.
Yeah, that's last year's Class C champion Dan Orsano in the Honda S2000 in Class B this year. His teammate Joel Oswick is up in 4th place overall, racing in Class A this season, but he's being caught by Stacey, who's just done the best lap of the race, 128.32, took his second out of Oswick, so it might be worth having a look at the battle for 3rd and 4th, which is now heading down towards Tower Corner, because we can see if Will Stacey in the blue Lotus can catch the BMW. Well, there they are, just coming into shot now, and the gap between them at the start of the lap was about 0.5 of a second. It's still roughly that now. It's equally close, isn't it, for second place, because Adam Bessel giving Carl Swift a really hard time. We're going to get it, and again, 2 very different cars here.
Yeah, we've got 6 cars. Oh, there's a big slide again for Carl Swift. That's through Barker off. Bit of car, not where it should be, off the car and on the side of the road. But I was going to say, Joel Oswick's doing a really good job, isn't he? In the first time in the Class A car. For second, though, let's go to that, because Adam Bessel is trying to go around the outside of Cole Swift in that Volkswagen Golf that is sliding around a lot, but using its tyres up as well, doing that. But he's hanging on to second, he's hanging on to the back of the leader. But here comes Adam Bessel, there he looks up the inside, he locks up, though. He knows this isn't a short, sharp Master MX-5 race, doesn't want to get damaged in that little Ginetta. It probably weighs about half the Golf. That is up ahead of it, and behind Will Stacey's alongside Joel Oswick, but surely the BMW has more power for the driver who's just 20 years of age, one of the youngest drivers on the grid, Joel Oswick, and he turns through, he's still there in 4th place. His car much quicker than anything he's raced before, but he's doing a good job in it.
You've got 2 of the youngest drivers on the grid together here as well, haven't you? Will Stacey in his early 20s as well.
Brad Kaler is very slow coming off the hairpin. Not sure if he had an off at all, but he's lost what I think was 8th or 9th position to Steve Cheetham, and a couple more got through as well.
Back to this battle for second place between Carl Swift and Adam Bessel. I think it's actually going to become a 4-way battle for second place, possibly, because Joel Oswick and Will Stacey were both a little bit faster than the cars ahead of them on the previous lap, so it could become a 4-way scrap. And actually, it's only a 0.9 of a second lead for the race-leading Audi TT TFSI as well. So there's the car in second place. In fact, that gap 0.9 looks to have come down as well. So it might be a 5-car lead scrap before much longer. Really good, close racing this. We thought it would be a good battle after qualifying. I think the top 6 or 7 cars completed by only about 1.2 seconds, and it's turning into a really good endurance race.
We're going to have 6 cars in the lead scrap here. This is certainly the most competitive opening stint of the ClubEnduro race yet, which is great to see, and lots of different types of car. They're all 6 of them are different, aren't they? You've got Audi, Volkswagen, Ginetta, BMW, Lotus and Seat, all to different specifications. Joel Oswick, rather than losing a place, is having to go at gaining a place, because he's gone around the outside of Adam Bessel's Ginetta, and he goes through then ahead of the Ginetta, which I think will be the oldest car in this group, won't it? And we've got the 2 light cars together now. It'll be interesting to see how they react as we come up to a bit more traffic through the chicane. A slightly bigger gap for the leader, and problems for one of the contenders in the race here.
Yeah, Colin Gillespie into the pit lane, and actually, yes, he's been shown the black and orange mechanical warning flags there. He's not chosen to come in, he's been told to come in by the officials. Something has been spotted amiss with that car. It's probably that missing bodywork off the front that the scrutineers want to have a proper look at.
Yeah, he went through the grab. Right, Jim Clark-S is traffic, Class C leading traffic as well, I think, here. And is everyone going to get through there okay? I think they are. Was it still the Class C leader? Yes. The Ginetta leading the class there, which is driven in this open stint by Robert Fennick. But there's Oswick, 3rd, 4th for Bessel. There's Ginetta G40 that leads its class. And this group that go through with Dylan Pachetta's 1.3 second lead, possibly produced a big dive up the inside by Mark Grice, and he just about avoided getting into the side there of Will Stacey. What a battle this is. This has been 15 minutes, which has been the same distance as all the other races we've had today, but we've got an hour and 45 minutes to go, and the 2 lightweight cars are side by side here.
I don't think we've had a 15-minute race where the top 6 have been this close either, have we, so far during the course of this weekend. And now we're going to get a challenge for second place from Joel Oswick. He's putting alongside Carl Swift. It's going to be on the outside line for Clerk Corner, but I think he's done it before they even get to the turning point. Yes, he has. So the 20-year-old mechanic from Chestnut, the winner of the John Miles Award last season as the most promising young driver within the whole of the 750 Motors Club, He goes to second on his first time out in this German Also Works run car owned by Steve Hutchinson, driven by Joel Oswick. He is going great guns, isn't he? Will he be challenging for the lead before much longer?
And he got Will Stacey trying to follow him past Cole Swift, and he goes right round the outside at Tower Bend, and he does it. Great move there by Will Stacey then to get to that position. So it's Bruchetta from now Oswick, Stacey, the sideways Swift, then Bessel and Grice, 2.6 seconds separated the six of them. A look up for the Ginetta there of Adam Bessel, but he got the car stopped. The traffic's not been too congested so far. That may change as the race goes on though. And they turn then the six of them together into the complex. And Joel Oswick's right with the leader now, Ian.
Certainly is, and he's obviously been thinking very carefully about this. He's not gone right at it from the off. Look how out of shape he's there. He's going to lose out. He's lost the position to Will Stacey there, but I think he's going to get it right back again because he's so much faster in a straight line than seemingly anybody else out there today. Joel Oswick gets back into second place, but he has, because of that, lost maybe the best part of a second to the race leader, Dylan Richter. He's still got the Will Stacey car behind him. Then it's Carl Swift in fourth. Fifth is Adam Bessel, and sixth is Mark Rice. Top six separated by only 2.8 seconds at the end of lap number 11. And they head down to Tower Corner once again. Absolutely wonderful stuff, this. Luke Hanley's about 6 seconds behind this now in 7th place. He in turn is 11 seconds clear of Steve Cheetham in 8th. The Luke Browse car, number 22, is in 9th, and Brad Kaylor, who had some problems a while back that you mentioned, Josh, he is still there in the number 87 car in 10th position.
Yeah, there's Joel Oswick late on the brakes into Sunny in this BMW M4 with its twin turbocharged inline 6-cylinder engine, and that's producing probably more power than anything else. That doesn't mean it's heavier though. It'll use its tyres up as well, perhaps a bit more because of that. The six of them, they're separated by less than ever, I think, as they come into the complex this time. Dylan Bruchetta, who was quick in the early stages, is no longer able to get away. Here comes Will Stacey right around the outside of Joel Oswick. He's got to be careful here because he knows Oswick got sideways a lap ago, but he knows he won't be able to hang on. He tries to defend that 6-cylinder turbocharged BMW is able to pull clear. It's a great example here of these different types of car that have different qualities in different places. They don't need a balance of performance in the way more international racing does. All it is a power to weight ratio. It's simple to understand, and you're side by side through the chicane, and Will Stacey takes second place.
And is the BMW going to lose another position here? It's got Carl Swift pulling up alongside it. He lost a bit of time there, and Mark Rice is trying to make a move on the inside as well. It's Swift around the outside of Oswick here, the two champions from last season from Class A and Class C. Grice getting involved as well, but Oswick's managed to hold on. But he's literally holding on here. He's lost ground to Stacey now. He's got Swift climbing all over the back of him, and Grice is going to try to get involved as well. And Adam Bessel, of course, back to 6th position, so that is a change. Grice getting ahead of Bessel since the start of this lap.
Car into the pit lane. It's a car that had problems in qualifying. Charlie Dark's BMW M2. So that car has pulled in from something like 19th position, I think. There's Luke Hanley. He's having a lonely race, isn't he, compared to the top six? He's not that far behind them.
And there's a driver. No, that might be a spectator. I'm sort of driver out of the car in the background, and the car had parked up. Anyway, leaders over the line again, and there is not that much of a gap between Richter and Will Stacey now. It's 0.57 seconds. Stacey took 3/10 out of the leader that time around.
We've seen this before. Mark Rice is driving through the gravel at the first corner. That's a suboptimal line, and now there's contact with the Ginetta. I not want to bet on the Ginetta coming better off of that. No. So Adam Bessel was trying everything not to touch the Sayat coming back onto the circuit. Luckily it wasn't too hard of a hit. The top three have got away because of all of that.
They have. It has split the sextet up into 2 threes, really. There's Bessel then in 5th position, chasing after Carl Swift. Be interesting to see how these two driver teams split the driving, of course. Croft often does most of the driving in the pairing with Rob Baker, but it will just depend on the strategy. Of course, you mentioned at the beginning of the race, Josh, the rules around pit stops not being able to take place behind safety cars. That does change things a bit, doesn't it? Because sometimes the strategy would be, if there's a safety car, you take the pit stop, then come what may, change for the lead. In fact, as they come down there, Will Stacey round the outside into the complex has got ahead of Dylan Brichter there. So Will Stacey, last year's winner, he was 7th in the early stages of this race, up into the lead of it. That's an excellent effort from him.
Remember he started 11th as well, Will Stacey. Now he's ahead. Will we be able to pull clear? Because we have seen him go over a second faster than anybody else in this race. Battle the fourth, Adam Bessel trying to get ahead of Cole Swift. That's not coming to anything as it stands. The Golfers looks like a bit difficult to drive. It slides around a lot. Obviously still in very early development phases, but then there are a few other cars out there that like Joel Oswick's BMW, again that's been a bit sideways. It hasn't done much racing, but then there are other cars like the Sayat that's obviously fully developed to its full potential. That's been a car that's gone through the gravel a few times.
There is the 71 car that we're seeing, the MX-5. That's Ben Short in that car at the moment. The Mazda MX-5, but one of the multiple MX-5 Cup champion, and he is in 21st position at the moment within that Class B car. As off has got Adam Bettel in the Ginetta. Sonny back onto the circuit now.
We've got a problem with the hairpin. There's a car stopped on the apex of the corner. It's the BMW 1 Series of Andy Roby, so we've got double waved yellow flags down here. I think we'll probably pick on that as the leaders go past that slower car. Look to the left, and there's a BMW stopped on the circuit, and the safety car's coming out.
Yeah, so safety car out with 23 minutes of the race having gone. It is going to pick up the leaders, but it's actually just picked up one of the back markers ahead, or one or two back markers ahead of the leaders, but they'll wave the back markers through.
With one back marker between the safety car and the leader, but there's a safety, as you see in front of the car we're on board with here, there is a back marker between Stacey and the pack, which could be important on the restart.
It could certainly be important, and that's the nature of things that you get in this racing.
It feels like we just spoke about safety cars and then the safety car came out.
Yeah. Well, and it is interesting because, of course, they wouldn't be able to take a pit stop yet anyway, because we weren't 30 minutes into the race.
Oh, and the car's got back going now. That's caused the safety car.
So it probably would be one of these one-lap safety car jobbies.
And Andy Roby's not pitting, so he must have been working on the electronics there. Control-Alt-Delete a few times perhaps, and then eventually it came into life. So are we going to try and get the whole pack behind the safety car before we restart? Well, firstly, we're going to have to get the recovery unit back off the road. It's a bit set off.
I imagine that would turn off onto the short circuit link, won't it? That's in this queue. You'll see the orange flashing light heading down towards us now on this shot, heading down towards Tower Corner. Let's just give a rundown on the order then. 48, Will Stacey it is that is leading this race. In second place, it's the number 6 car, that's Dylan Brichter and Dan Sylvester. Third is number 2, Joel Oswick. In fourth place is number 1, Carl Swift and Rob Baker. Fifth is number 27, Mark Rice and Will Beach. Sixth is number 14, that's Adam Bessel and Alec Livesley. In seventh place, number 51, Luke Handley. Eighth is number 43, Steve Cheetham. Ninth is number 22, Luke Browse and Paul Browse. And 10th is number 87, Brad Kaler. Now, those are all Class A cars. In Class B, the leader in 12th place overall is number 89, Scott Parkin. From in second place, number 91, Christopher Plaskett. And a long way back in third place is the Chris Webster and Matthew Tidmarsh Ginetta G40. In Class C, the leader is number 10, that's the Rob Fennick and Andrew Shepherd Ginetta G40. From in second place, David Lawrence and Erla Kruloff in the Honda Civic Type R, and then it's James Johnston and Matthew Baldry number 23 in 26th position. So that's the order as things stand at the moment. Safety car lights are still on, I notice, Josh.
I think they are trying to bunch the pack up, I suspect then, aren't they, before we restart. Everyone did well as well there, didn't they? Because it was quite a late call for the safety car to come out to react. I guess Picticar radio here helped with that a lot as well. But it seems to let the drivers know what's happening. So we're going to get another lap behind the safety car. The car stopped again.
Yes.
Andy Ruby, so that was probably not wise to carry on past the pit lane. So that means this safety car period is going to last a little bit longer, which will give us a chance to head downstairs and have a chat to Chris Stevens.
Yeah, I'm joined by Mike from Rob Boston Racing. Mike, your boy Will's doing a fantastic job out there in the lead at the moment.
Fantastic job so far. It was a bit nervous at the start. We had some work to do, but after the qualifying we had, got to be happy so far. Yeah.
You told me that there's been a lot of changes to the car, a lot of development. How are they all working out so far?
Well, in qualifying we had another head gasket fail. Typical Lotus problem. We sorted it out. We're out there. It seems to be working for now. Just keeping developing it really, as much as we can do.
And of course, you mentioned those issues in qualifying. Is there any chance they might rear their heads in the race as well?
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. We've resorted back to a previous development stage of the engine. We started with a new development on quali. Didn't seem to work, so we've resorted back to our known working one.
Great, well, fingers crossed that holds up. Where do you think the competition is mainly coming from? I mean, Class A looks so competitive this year.
There's so many of them, isn't there? Those TCRs are fast. I noticed we came together with Gillespie at the beginning. I don't know what happened there fully yet. But yeah, those TCRs, that BMW, they're all so fast on the straights, but we do what we can.
Yeah, Will's certainly making up for it in the corners, yeah?
Oh, you're not kidding. We've seen some of those overtakes. Unbelievable. So, yeah, we seem to have it in the corners. Yeah.
Great stuff. And of course that means it's good for the complex around the back of the circuit. It seems to be where he's making up most of his time.
It is, yeah. It's just like I say, it's just this straight, coming off that final corner, down this straight. They seem to get us. So as long as we can get a gap on them around the back of the circuit, we're fine.
Well, we're hoping that the car holds out for the rest of the race and that Will can keep it in a competitive position.
Fingers crossed.
All right,
Thank
cheers
you.
for chatting to us, mate. Ian, Josh, let's go back up to you.
Thank you, Chris. And news of a drive-through penalty will be for car number 70. That is Colin Wilmot in the South Super Cobra. That's for repeatedly exceeding track limits, and that can't be served while the safety car is out. So, race has just under half an hour gone, and I would think by the time that the safety car comes in, it'll be pretty much time for the pit lane window to open, Josh.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if anyone chooses to do that. One car this has made or advantaged is James Collins. He's kept him on the lead lap. Now the field has bunched up. He's got up to 14th as well. And okay, they've had to put some ballast in to make sure they're at the right weight for this race. But Nigel Greensell was the fastest driver in qualifying. Depending how big their fuel tank is, will depend on how early Nigel can get into the car. But that car could be one that comes into contention as this race goes on. Particularly, if they can get that driver change done earlier than the sort of mid-distance. But anyway, James has done a great job in the first half of this race for a new car.
Safety car lights are out, and the Andy Roby, once it was BMW, has been towed into the pit lane, so we're able to get going again after 2 laps behind the safety car, and the guys will do one more lap, and then at the end of it, the pit lane window will be open should they want to take advantage of that. So, safety car peels in, and Will Cersei does have that advantage of that Type R behind him, and that is proving quite crucial because it didn't want to get away particularly quickly, and it's side by side for second place then as they go over the start line at the restart. And is it going to be Joel Oswick that gets through into second place down at Clervaux Corner? Not quite. It is still the Audi TD ahead of Dylan Richter, but that was a close run thing, and that's really given a big advantage to Will Stater there with that back marker. Not necessarily wanting to get going when the green flag was waving.
Well, he wouldn't have the power, so I don't think he did anything wrong there. As how many times have we seen Mark Grice on the grass in this stint? He's on the grass again there, and is he lost out there to Luke Handley? That's made a really good restart, because he's not just passed Mark Grice, who was on the grass, but he's also passed Adam Bessel as well. And Bessel's lost out here to Grice. He might lose out to Steve Cheetham as well if he's not careful in the Ginetta G20. Something that Joel Oswick though did really well was not passed Dylan Bacchetta before the line. He was 100th of a second behind. He timed that as perfectly as he could do, but he wasn't able to make the move work for him as the field flow their way here through Croft. And there's our Class B leader. That's Scott Parkins. So his big lead he had has disappeared. Chris Pluskett second in the class. Third in the class is Chris Webster in the ex-Rothko Ginetta G40. As the cars come through, pit lane window now open.
Yep, board being shown from the finish line to let everybody know that is the case. And also a board out to say there's a drive-through penalty as well. That, as we say, is for car number 70. So, race goes on then. What's Will Stacey's lead at the end of that lap? It is 3.63 seconds over Dylan Richter, and then it's another 1 second back to Joel Oswick in third place.
8.82 off Ian Ben Williams, the capture Seat on the grass here at the complex.
Yes, so that's the Cupra that's in trouble. Into the pits has come number 59, that is Jim Benson. Now this could be for his mandatory stop. He's driving solo as Jim Benson, the man from Huntingdon in the Lotus Elise, his first time racing in ClubEnduro. Of course, a long time racer in the BMW Car Club Racing Championship. There's the Williams car going rather slowly back round. Into the pits again has come number 235, that's the Michael Charlie Doug Crown Paints Livered BMW.
So a big challenge from Mark Grice to get past Luke Handley at Tower, but he can't get through, and I think the M2 may go no more. It's going into the garage, I'm afraid, as Ben Williams is pitted. A muddy complex there for Dylan Bruchetta as he turns his way through, still ahead of Joel Oswick. Gets his car turned his way through. So now we've had a clear lap. What are the lap time differences between Will Stacey and the rest? Well, Will Stacey did a 1 minute 28.9, which is quicker by, again, the best part of a second over the chasers. There's a change there for fifth up towards Clairvaux because through goes Mark Grice up ahead of Luke Handley. Adam Bessel, probably the biggest loser in the starting of this restarting, because he's lost a couple of positions.
Yeah, back down to 7th position. Steve Cheekson behind him in 8th. There's the Williams car being checked over after it's off. We've also got the 70 car in, I think, for its drive-through penalty, although it's not actually driving through. He's stopped there to talk to his teammate, I can see beneath us. We watch the Williams car on screen now.
Side by side through the S's behind the battle we're watching, as not quite getting through was Adam Bessel, but that's just about a second then between Dylan Bruchetta and Joel Oswick. Bruchetta's raced all kinds of cars in the past, but I think this is his first time out in the Audi TT, certainly in this series. And then Joel Oswick behind in the German Autoworks BMW M4 that hasn't done very much racing at all, this particular car. And Oswick all over the back of the Audi TT, so you've got two rear-wheel drive cars here together, turning out of the hairpin, but they will be all too aware that race leader Will Stacey is pulling clear, and a very different feel to this restart to the initial start to the race here.
Yeah, that's right. It was very intense, wasn't it? With those sort of 8 cars going at it initially, but things have become a little more spread now. I can see also that Scott Parkin has got a Class A car between himself and Chris Plaskett now. That's actually the James Collins Nigel Greensill car that's between the two of them in 12th place, I think, now.
Mark Grice has just become the second person joining Will Stacey in the 128s. So Mark Grice has had an eventful stint. He's been on the grass at least 3 times, or through the gravel, but he is the second quickest car out there. Let's have a look at our Class C leaders here, Ian.
Yeah, this is the battle for the lead, isn't it? Between Rob Fenwick in the Ginetta and David Lawrence in the Honda. And it's Fenwick that's got himself back ahead, I think.
Is that a back marking?
There's Lawrence. I can see him at the head of the Ginetta, and then a similar coloured car appears in shot. But yes, there's not too much to choose between those. So it is Lawrence that's ahead. That's a back marker. But there is the Ginetta just behind. There's the back marker going through shot. That's the 23 car. James Johnston, who'll hand over to Matthew Baldry, sometime Cassacoon hot hatch racer.
That has been a change, as David Lawrence has got past sometime recently,
yes,
because he was behind Fenwick in the first part of this race. There's the little G40 in GT5 specification, I think.
That's right.
Nearly as many of them here as there was at Old Park this weekend.
Cool. Over the line goes the James Collins car, which is one to head over to Nigel Greensword. Looking out of our window, we can see that Mark Price has got a 5-second penalty, but he's now bearing down on Carl Swift as well for 4th position on the road.
But it's not terribly surprising he's got a track limit penalty, because it seems like whenever we see that car, it's not necessarily on the circuit. Although I don't think he gained advantages on those particular occurrences. Scott Parkin, the Class B leader's just done a best lap of the race within his class, a 1 minute 31.34, not quite as quick as we've seen in the past. In the race, he's only been half a second quicker than Chris Plaskett, not as big gap as there was in qualifying. I think Chris Stevens is down there in the pit lane. Let's see what he knows.
Yeah, I'm joined by Jay Dargano from the German Autoworks team. Jay, a very eventful start to the race for Joel, but you know he's living up to the name he was given at the awards night, the most promising young driver out there.
Yeah, well, we actually name him Wonder Boy. He's doing a fantastic job out there. Can't ask for anything more from him and the car. We had a few issues between now and qualifying in the race, but I think we sorted it, and we can really go out there and battle with the big boys, and that's what we wanted from this season. We really wanted to get up there and show that we as a company and our team can battle with the big guys.
Of course, you fought Rob Baker and Carl Swift last season for the title, but you were in Class E, you're now in Class A. It's a new car, a whole new challenge for this team.
Yeah, definitely, but we've all rose to it. The guys are so supportive. I can't thank us, our team and the sponsors, even guys from the USA, you know, I know they're watching, so thank you. But yeah, Joel is out there putting smiles on all of our faces. We can't ask for more than that.
So what are you expecting to happen by the end of the race?
Top 3. I'd love a top 3, so fingers crossed.
All right, we'll keep them crossed for you as well. Cheers for talking to us, Jay. Ian, Joss, let's go back up to you.
Thanks very much indeed, Chris. So we've got the race continuing. So what I can see has got a driving stance flag. I think that is, can't see the whole flag out, but I think maybe a driving stance flag out for someone again.
Another driver into the 28s here is Adam Bessel, because he's got ahead of Luke Handley and some clear road. He is pushing on. Also is Joel Oswick, who's looking up the inside for second place into the hairpin. He's alongside Dylan Pachetto. He didn't get through though quite, so the second place battle continues. They are falling a long way though behind the race leader Will Stacey now, who is getting towards 10 seconds ahead. Then the battle for 4th, the Mark Rice driven car, which has been the second quickest car in this stint, but they're both now being caught by Adam Bessel in the Ginetta G20, who is probably at the moment now the second fastest car on the road, just slower than the leader on lap. Now he's got clear track to work with.
So there is Carl Swift in 4th position, car number 1. And he's being chased down by Mark Bryce, number 27, but Bryce with that 5-second penalty that he has incurred for exceeding track limits. Bessel in the Ginetta chasing after them.
Of course, it's a turnaround from yesterday, isn't it? Because it was the Golf drivers who got the penalty for track limits, and today it's Mark Bryce. And Mark Bryce and Will Beach got the Motorsports win yesterday because of that penalty for Rob Baker and Cole Swift. I saw there was a little bit of banter on Facebook where Area Motorsports sent a note saying you needed a time penalty for a TCR car to beat a road car, but they're both built to the same power to weight regulations. They make their lap times very differently. It does appear though in that Volkswagen Golf at this stage, with the current setup on it with not very much development, it's quite difficult to drive. It slides around a lot, but Cole Swift and Rob Baker drive very well. Adam Bessel was 2 seconds behind these two. Now he's challenging them. He's on the inside of Mark Grice, heading up towards Clairvaux Corner. The Ginetta, is it still on the inside? I don't think Adam Bessel fancies his chances too much to alongside the Seat, because he knows if the Seat turns in like it did there, the Ginetta will be in big trouble.
Yeah, so Bessel deciding that discretion was the better part of valour there, but there is one car through the gravel trap at Clairvaux though. It's come out of the other side though, so that's good news for the car Beach down there. Try and work out who that was in was that I think it's the Brad Kaler car, was it not? Yes, it was. But it was off through the gravel trap there from 9th position. I think he's held on to that place though.
I suspect Adam Bessel is learning a lot here, racing against different cars. I think probably for the first time, in this significance, where Will Stace has had a season or two now, hasn't he? Learning how to get a car that hasn't got as much straight line speed, but a lot more corner speed through, and that's what Adam Bessel is learning during the course of the last 40 minutes.
Will Stacey's lead has been steadily increasing over the last 10 minutes or so since the safety car went in. It's now 9 seconds or so over the Audi, which has got its hands full really of Joel Oswick, and not too far behind that you've got the Dex Trio battling. Those are the 3 in shot now. For those of you watching on the live stream, the dark BMW, by the way, is back out into the race by the looks of it. We had some work done on it in the garage.
Oh, and Cole Swift turned to run a little bit wide, with dirty tyres, made a sideways run through Hawthorne. He's able to keep ahead of Mark Rice. They flick right and then power their way up towards Tower Corner. Good exit there for Cole Swift. Adam Bessel gets close to the back of the Cupra, but then doesn't have the top end speed of the cars ahead. That car's going really well, isn't it? The Ginetta G20. Obviously got lots of development since that car originally was built. Quite some time ago.
Yeah, that's right. There's Grice heading through in 5th position on the road at the moment. Turning their way through Sunny, back down towards the complex, and already in the hairpin is the race leader, Will Stacey. So we're getting into the middle third of the race now, so it's going to be prime opportunity for pit stops. The 70 car is back in, and this time it is looking like it's for its mandatory stop. Because we're going to see a driver change there, possibly, or possibly not. The second driver's not yet got his helmet on. There's the 76 car, Michael Downey. He's been a big supporter of the Tequila ClubEnduro Championship pretty much since it started. In his orange Porsche Boxster there, and he's just ahead there of another Class B car. That's Ben Short in the Mazda MX-5.
The 2 Class C leaders are side by side heading up towards Tower Corner, because Robert Fennick's got the Ginetta back ahead of David Lawrence, I think. There we can see them on the screen now. The much smaller Ginetta G40 back ahead of the Honda Civic. The battle for 20th overall, but more importantly the Class C lead.
Yeah, you can see that on screen now. So Fennick there in the black Ginetta ahead of the red Civic FN2. And what's gone there? Oh, Steve Cheatham's pulled off in his Porsche. He was in 8th position, number 43, former Porsche 924 champion from Manchester. Yeah, he's pulled off into the old pit lane exit.
That Class C lead battle now is getting lapped by that group of cars from second onwards, so that's going to be an interesting moment, I would imagine, for Fennick and Lawrence as they work their way here up into the hairpin. Fennick has arrived at Buckinghamshire, about to be lapped by Dylan Brachetta's Audi. You can see the extra power of these Class A cars, and being lapped is obviously a skill as well as getting lapped, and it seems like Rob Fennick is dealing with it better at the moment. He's pulling clear of David Lawrence then, as the cars dive up the inside of him. Firstly Swift, then Grice, then Bessel, who's up over the curves through Hawthorne Corner. But we've just had a new fastest lap of the race by the race leader Will Stacey, a 1 minute 28.25 to extend his lead out to 12 seconds over the continuing battle for second position between Dylan Brachetta and between Joel Oswick, as now the next group of cars make their way up ahead of Ginetta G40 of Rob Fennick. It looked like we're quite close to the side of Adam Bessel's car there, the 2 Ginettas, as they make their way through another lap of the race.
Yep, so there's the GT5
Steve Cheatham's back going again, by the way. He's just been lapped by the leader. It looked like the car was being pushed behind, or was going to go behind the barriers, but perhaps he's been able to sort the problem out in the cockpit. Here's the battle for second place. Joel Oswick's seen a lot at the back of the Audi TT over the last few laps. Ian, he can't find a way through as of yet.
Can't, and to the line they come, and over it they now go. And the gap between those two cars is about 0.6 of a second as things stand between Bridgton and Oswick, who's got a 5-second penalty now for exceeding track limits. So Joel Oswick picking up a 5-second penalty for track limits infringements, I'm afraid. Hard to know where that's going to leave you at the end of the race, with still an hour and a quarter left to go. But
if it remains at 5 seconds, that's something you probably can deal with it. If it starts getting worse, we've already seen a drive-through penalty for such an infringement, and that will happen if Joel Oswick were to continue to do track limits. We've missed Ben Short in the MX5 Cup races. It's his turn now, rather than running a car in, to drive one.
Yeah, absolutely. He's driving it pretty well there. He's having a good race in 16th overall, I think that is. He is at the moment, going pretty well in the Mark 1 MX5 that's in Class B specification for these purposes. Just behind him is the number 76 car of Michael Downey, who is a lap behind according to the screens.
Yeah, I guess where the safety car came out, that would have split some of the Class B cars up, so Ben Short there putting a lap on the Porsche.
Steve Cheatham was flashing his lights as he came across the line that time, so whether that was some kind of signal to the team as he went past, I'm not quite sure. Watching the cars go past, 4th, 5th and 6th, still right together, Swift, Grice and Bessel. There's quite a gap back now to Luke Handley in 7th place. And Brad Kaler in 8th place, just going through there in the Audi as well. The next car through is the orange BMW. That is the Matthew Hampson car that is in 9th position, and then completing the top 10, the green BMW just going through shot of Luke Browse.
Someone that's doing a decent job here is Matthew Stockford in his first race. That car didn't qualify very well at all in 20th, but he's worked the Audi RS3 up to 13th position and is improving. So that's one that's been moving up the order. As you can see, just behind the BMW there is the Class B leader. He's now up to 11th position, Scott Parkin in the Volkswagen Golf TDI, and has made a 12-second gap over Chris Plaskett's Volkswagen Golf GTI. Then third in Class B is Chris Webster 4, and I think the last car on the Class B lead lap is Ben Short. And there is Scott Parkin, the class leader.
Yeah, the man behind Darkside Developments, going well, and we're on board with him now up to the right-hander, Sonny, back down towards the complex, the spectator banks on the left-hand side of the circuit. That's a copse of coniferous trees ahead of us, and he's got one of the FN2, the Enduro Hondas that he's lapping. He's not too far away from the back of the 10th place car now of Luke Browse, is he? So he's catching, he's sort of lapping in very similar lap times. Luke is up to 130.45, Parkin at 131.4.
Problem for Joel Oswick, the BMW M4 that was in third position is slowing on the run up towards the Jim Clark S's. There it is, it's already lost third, 4th and 5th positions, and Joel Oswick will be bound for the pit lane, I suspect.
Yeah, that's a great shame, isn't it, for Joel, who was showing such pace on his first race in this Steve Hutchinson-owned car. We'll see if there's anything the team can do to get him back out for the rest of the race at some kind of pace, but I think the hopes of the top 3 finish the team are hoping for, they are diminishing, it has to be said. He's heading into complex now, And is he going to head for the pits? It doesn't sound particularly because it judges it comes past our commentary point.
One good point of view for that team is we are in the pit window.
Yes.
So if that car can be fixed in 3 minutes, they might not lose as much time as they otherwise would do, but is the problem larger than that? That's obviously the thing that Chris Stevens will be finding out down there in the pit lane. There is Joel Oswick. He goes straight into the cockpit. They are prepared with the fuel. Joel gets out the car because of course you can't have a driver in the car while it's being refueled, so that will be done first. Nothing else can happen while it is refueling, and then they will work out what to do next. The other option here, Ian, obviously this is a new car, or pretty new car. It's a problem if this is the case, but was it running out of fuel? Was it getting fuel surge? That is a problem. It's not going to get to the end of the race in one stop.
No, exactly.
Let's see if they do anything else once the fueling is complete.
No, we'll keep an eye on that. That was the car that was in second position, of course. And yep, doors open, and Joel's getting straight back into the car. But yeah, what happens next? Well, Will Stacey's just gone across the line again. It's complete lap number 32 in his case, and the second place car is only just coming out of the hairpin now in the shape of Dylan Bridgetown.
News from Chris Stevens down there in the pit lane. We've seen the Dark family BMW make quite a number of pit stops. That's had a loose booster pipe, so therefore was lacking power. And we saw Andy Roby stop a couple of times, and the team think that's some sort of ECU problem with that car.
There's no obvious further work going on the Genuine Autoworks BMW.
So is it fuel? If that is, it's not going to do 2 hours and 1 stop. Assuming they filled it up at the start, which potentially would do.
So we'll see where he comes out in on all of this. The race continues though. Of course, it's, as we said, 1 3-minute pit stop that has to be made during the course of the race. Can't make them the last 15 minutes of the race either. So we've got about 50 odd minutes still to make their stops.
That's going to be the third place battle with a couple of cars to lap there, and Elswick worked that really well. Mark Grice therefore has to follow Ben Short through the Sunny complex. Then Ben moves to the left hand side of the circuit, lets the cars with more power go through.
The leader's in, the race leader is into the pits on lap number 33. Will Stacey, number 48, into the pits, and he'd got a good lead of 15 seconds when he came in. There you can see him heading down the pit lane now.
So that means Dylan Procetta retakes the lead of the race. There's the Team Dynamics Audi RS3, driven by Matthew Stockford in the Sophie stint. Will hand over to Honda 8. Alan James, a bit of a problem for the leader here, Ian.
Yeah, it's being pushed back up the pit lane now. Did he overshoot his slot? But that means that it's going to be a longer stop, come what may.
Well, yeah, because from where the car stops in the good point. That car just weighed 730 kilograms, so a lot lighter. Joel Oswick's on his way. Will Stacey gets out. Yeah, this, unlike most race series, is stationary time rather than pit in to pit out, isn't it? That's a very good point you made there. It's not a particularly busy pit lane at the moment, so that's an interesting situation to have missed your pit box. Were the team not prepared? Are there problems here? It wasn't a particularly slow in-lap for Will Stacey.
Off has gone Adam Bessel in the Ginetta up at Sunny, and that car is on the grass between the current circuit and the old circuit, and that is in a relatively exposed position.
And there's damage on Mark Rice's front left corner. I don't know if that's from earlier or if that is related. Into the pits now comes Procetta, because of course if you get into the pits before the safety car comes out, you will be able to do your 3-minute pit stop when nobody else will, and that is also why Mark Rice is pitting. But the race champion from last year not come in, so staying out is Cole Swift. So we pray the safety car doesn't come out in the next 90 seconds.
Yeah, we need to perhaps see what's going on with Adam Bessel. In has come the leading Audi, the Vettel car is still there, stationary on the grass. We can see on the inset the pit stop going on for the Darkside Audi that was leading this race. Driver out of the car while the refuelling takes place, of course. But we do still have that stationary Adam Vettel car up at Sunny. There we can see the Mark Rice car, and look at that, Josh. We've got any damage
there was
there?
a tyre problem. Yeah, they've got a new tyre ready, haven't they? And that's the side, I think, where the damage was. See Simon Chapman and his 750 Motor Club rescue team coming to the rescue up there at Sunny. Now the marshals are there as well. So I think we can do this under local yellow flag. So great work there by the rescue team and the marshals at Sunny.
Yes, they're going to get ready to take that left front off, aren't they? Now the refuelling is completed.
To be fair, the Audi TT team are two in front tyre change as well. So perhaps this was part of the plan. Perhaps new front tyres is necessary.
You can see how worn those are compared to the tyres that they're putting on, can't you? So they have taken quite a beating, the tyres, it would seem. Obviously Mark Rice has got out of the car. He's handed over to William Beach. Dylan Brichter's handing over to Dan Sylvester, who we saw out in action in Hot Hatch and Twitch MR2s at Donington Park last weekend. Busy boy, the YouTuber. So a lot of activity going on in the pit lane at the moment. So it's Carl Swift that leads the race on the road at the moment. Luke Handling will be up to second. Josh?
So Joel Oswick is reporting the car is down on power. They did wonder if it was low on fuel, but he's still reporting the same to his team. So some reason, lack of power for Joel Oswick's BMW M4. And he's back out on the circuit, but he is lapping significantly slower than what he was previously. So we'll keep an eye on that one. So Area Motorsport have gone for a different strategy here, Ian, haven't they? They stayed out, which potentially was a risk. They obviously had trust in the 750 Motor Club marshalling team here at Croft. A safety car wouldn't be necessary. James Collins is into the pit lane now.
Joel Oswick's back in as well. So Joel Oswick back into the pits. So I think we're down to some testing mileage now for that car. But if it's down on power, it may well be that they decide to call it a day. So relatively busy pit lane now. There's the car. So pretty much this car is going to be split 50-50 between the two drivers, isn't it? The very experienced Nigel Greensill will get in for the second part of the race. Where's that car in the order as things stand? It is 8th at the moment, obviously with quite a few cars ahead of it having made their stops.
As will Stacey rejoin the race in Lotus. I think he has. Can't see that car in the pit lane, so we'll see where that. Here he is now. So Will Stacey comes out, but he's behind. He is behind the two other stoppers. So they're out of the pit lane goes Dan Sylvester, but he has dropped behind Will Beach, who's taken over from Mark Rice. So I think it is a total turnaround from our three early stoppers. You noticed it, Ian, as Will Stacey went and missed his pit box, so that would be a longer pit stop, and that has cost him a couple of places at the very least.
Ben Williams into the pits for This is going to be the mandatory stop this time. That car's already been into the pits after that car was off earlier on in the race. So Rob Boston, not Rob Boston, Will Stacey in Rob Boston racing car is heading off up to tower. We're heading off into the pit, and hold on 1 second. There's a car that's massively locked up, and it is the Luke Brow's car that has locked up and is off the circuit at tower. But let's head down to the pit lane and Chris.
Well, having been a relatively quiet pit lane for the race up until this point, it's an absolute hive of activity in here now. There was very nearly a collision between your car, Mark Grice, and the Darkside car as they were pushing theirs out just now. But you seem to have a very eventful first stint there.
Yes, it was. The opening, I got into the lead straight away, which was great, and then I come into Sunny in and I was like, oh, I forgot I've got 100 litres of fuel on board, and I was like, I'm not going to stop. So I sort of went wide, and then I lost all my places, gained a few back, and yeah, it was very eventful. It was a bit deja vu, dicing with Carl rather than Rob, but seeing the same car as yesterday. So, but yeah, really eventful race.
Of course, you won the
is off at Town Corner and it needs to be recovered, and that's come just pretty much exactly halfway through this 2-hour race. That car, by the way, I believe Vaz was going to have to serve a stop-go penalty anyway for an overtake under yellow flags.
Importantly, neither of the area motorsport Gulf went get into the pit before the safety car came out. I don't think anyone did actually, so it's not going to particularly advantage anyone at this stage, I don't think.
This could be an interesting thing as the season goes on. If you get a situation whereby a safety car comes out and you are tight on running out of fuel, that could be an interesting dynamic as the season wears on. We'll see if that's something that comes into play during the course of this race.
Like, I guess you could pit, wouldn't be a mandatory
It would be a mandatory stop, yeah.
I would imagine. So out of the pit stoppers, it is Mark Rice who will beat you ahead. This probably won't actually help him, will it? Because that 5-second penalty will bunch up the drivers behind. And to hit the work rights of it, down to Sylvester and Will Stacey. But obviously we'll have to wait for the full pit stop cycle to be complete, which may take some time because it may be towards the end of the race. No, do it before 15 minutes to go, but it could be some time before everybody else makes their stop. Because we've still got out there Cole Swift, Luke Handley, Brad Kaler. Still on the lead lap is Matthew Hampson, who's done a good job here. Scott Parkin also still on the lead lap, as is Matthew Stockford. So that's the top 6 all on the lead lap. But down in the pit lane is Chris.
I'm here with James Collins, who's just done his first ever ClubEnduro stint, obviously starting from the pit lane after the exclusion from qualifying. But how did it go out there?
Yeah, it was good. Obviously didn't expect to be underway, but we removed some parts before coming here this weekend, the rear diffuser and that's where we've lost our way, but drove well from the back, made way through the grid and that. Nigel's in the car now, so we should start seeing it push up a bit.
Where do you think he can get up to?
I don't know. We've got a gearbox issue, so I don't know. He's some pilot, so we'll see where he gets to.
How have you found your ClubEnduro experience so far as a rookie?
It's competitive, it's fast, there's some fast boys out there, but everyone's very courteous. Everyone gives you room and that, and it's not like Dodgems. Everyone's nice and friendly out there, so it's good, and we'll be back again.
I was just going to ask if we convinced you to stay for a season?
Well, we've booked Spa. I think we're going to do Alton Park, maybe Anglesey. I need to speak to Johnny next week. He's currently on holiday, so enjoy your holiday anyway, John.
Alright, well, we hope to see you out many more times this year. Ian, Josh, back up to you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris. Still, the Luke Browse car has yet to be recovered, so safety car's still out for a little while yet.
James Collins just mentioned Nigel Greensill into the car. They just missed out on getting ahead of Cole Swift and therefore coming to the back of the line. So in some ways that's luck than anything, isn't it?
Yeah.
That could have worked really well for them, but as it stands, probably not ideal. So they're not a lap behind Mark Rice, the leading stopper, but they are the best part of the lap behind. So if they weren't, I think Nigel Greensill could have been in a very good position to bring that car forward, but instead it's going to be a little bit more hard work than what it could have been, but that's how it runs in these types of races.
Let's give a quick rundown on the order. Not that it means too much at the moment. Some drivers haven't made their stops and others have not. So it's Rob Baker, Carl Swift leading the race, number 1. Second is 51, Luke Hamday. Third is 87, Brad Taylor. Fourth is 69, Matt Hampson. Fifth is 89, our Class B leader, Scott Parkin. In sixth place is number 78, Matthew Stockford. 7th is the number 15 car, Colin Gillespie. 8th is the number 8 car, which is being driven by Chris Webster. 9th is number 71, Ben Short, and 10th is number 27, Mark Rice. Of course, having made the stop. So it's Parkin from Webster, from Short in Class B, and in Class C at the moment it's Rob Fennick still leading in the Genetic G40 GT5 from David Lawrence in second place within that class, and third in Class C at the moment is Vaitortas Piviras. I don't think he's yet made a stop.
Recovery coming towards an end. now they've got the M3 out of the gravel, that car's been able to drive off its own power. Please don't drop out the car, but that car will hopefully, he lights up the rear tyres, and I think there's about the rest of the gravel tap going out the back of the car. He'll be able to make his way to the back of the queue, and he'll be able to get the race underway in just a few moments' time.
And of course, what it means is that the pit lane activity can resume again, can't it? I suspect it will, because right in this middle chunk of the race where teams will have been wanting to have made their pit stops, and possibly probably half of them have so far.
It definitely changes things from how things worked previously, and I think it's a fairer way of doing it, isn't it? Because then we're more likely to split your driver time up more evenly. But of course, as always, there's nothing to do about it. There are lucky moments that you work for one of those windows, you would be able to gain an advantage, but that's how they work.
Right at the towards the back of the group, we've got the two Class C leaders. That's 10 and 56. That's the Rob Fennick car, and also the David Lawrence car, which is better in the Honda 15th and 16th over where they are, as you can see, going past the shot now. Just to outline the rest of the season, after this they go to Anglesey in 4 weeks' time for the 2-hour race, then Alton on the 3rd of June, that's also a 2-hour race. Spa-Francorchamps on the 14th and 15th of July with 200-minute races, with the results aggregated to give one set of championship points. Then it's back to 2-hour race at Snetterton on the 13th of August, the same at Donington Park on the Grand Prix circuit on the 24th of September, and the season concludes on the 29th of October on the Grand Prix circuit, the shortest race of the year, shortest standalone race of the year, a 100-minute encounter.
Had the 23 car come into the pit lane. That was James Johnson, fair way up the Class C order. You can't pit under safety cars. So is this the problem Ian wondered? If you are running out of fuel when the safety car is out, was there another problem with that Honda Civic that was running so well within Class C? There it is, has it got a tyre issue?
Yeah, now are they going to make a driver change
Well, they shouldn't do that.
anyway, but shouldn't do. And that way looks like James Johnson still is in the car. I guess there is a gamble to take, because it's just a question of what penalty you're going to get effectively if you do make a driver change. Either way you're going to lose out by making a stop or having a penalty, so might want to take a gamble. Anyway, safety car's coming in, race about to get underway. And the green flag waves once again with 51 minutes of the race remaining, and it's Carl Swift heading down to the first corner.
And the cars across the line now are two leaders who have pitted, and that was Dan Sylvester on board now, goes down the inside of Will Beach, so it's not for the lead of the race at the moment, but it could be later on. He hops over the curbs and he goes through, so Dan Sylvester takes that position up ahead of Will Beach, which for now is for 10th position, but it could become more important later.
There's the Class C lead battle as well. That's the number 10 Ginetta of Rob Fennick, the 56 Honda of David Lawrence, newcomer into racing, and he is having a really good first outing. It's been doing time attack before this, and used to an automatic box, which is a manual box. I think they're putting a lap on there, one of the other Enduro cars as well. There's some refuelling going on. That's Colin Gillespie, who'll be handing over to Phil Driver for the second part of the race. And also Scott Parkin, our Class B leader, is in the pit lane as well, number 89. So he's made the decision to go into the pits just as soon as the racing got back underway.
Dan Sylvester's absolutely flying in the Audi TT on this restart. He took the fastest lap yesterday in road sports, so he knows he needs to get on with this, because not that far behind is Will Stacey, who's been so quick over the course of this. And his teammate, Dan Sylvester's teammate, Darkside Developments, the Audi RS3, is trying to hold Will Stacey off at the moment and keep him at bay. But on that lap, Sylvester does the fastest lap of the race, so 1:27.70 for the Audi TT TFSI.
So 49 minutes of the race to go, and it's going to be quite a race as well. We'll keep an eye on what Nigel Greensall is doing as well in the number 40 car. Well, that car's just run its personal best lap of the race, a 1 minute 30 dead, but still that's 2.3 seconds outside what Dan Sylvester has just achieved. But I'm sure there's more to come from Nigel Greensall as well.
Class C leader into the pit lane. So Rob Fennick will hand over to Andrew Shepherd. This pair of drivers raced a Lotus last season. More tyre changes in the pit lane.
Yeah, that's the Scott Parkin car. It's having the work done on the right front at the moment. Well, that car's going to go back out into the race. We've got coming into the complex the race leader, Carl Swift, being chased by Nigel Greensall, albeit they're on different laps at the moment. 40 car showing us 3 laps behind on the screen here.
If you are changing tyres, you'd think you'd want to pit halfway through the race really to get the best out of the new tyres, wouldn't you? Whereas Carl Swift is staying out, do they change tyres or not? Because further you're into the race, probably less advantage you're going to get from newer tyres.
I would think so. 69 is into the pits. That's Matthew Hampson coming in to hand over to Andy Schultz for the second half of the race. Andy, generally the quicker driver of that pairing, so we'll see if he can get the car further up the order. It's 4th going into the pit stops.
And Matthew Hampson did a lot of driving there, didn't he? But Andy Schultz has got the lap record here.
56 has come in. That's David Lawrence from second place within, well, briefly the lead of Class C. Looking on screen now at the number 23 car that's gone back out into the race now, having made that, I think, unscheduled stop. So that was James Johnston in the first half of the race. Matthew Hawtrey, his co-driver.
So Michael Downey, I think, will take the Class B lead over, won't he? But he has yet to make a pit stop. Plenty to work out in this. Nigel Greensall's got himself onto the tail of Cole Swift now, and Mark Grice is getting himself up ahead of Luke Handley, but importantly he's been caught by Will Stacey, so Will Stacey is following that Seat again, although with a different driver aboard it now. But here's Greensall trying to unlap himself from the leader of the race. Greensall's into the 28th now at 28.32, but Will Stacey has just set the fastest lap of the race at 1 minute 27.64, and he's currently 5 seconds behind Dan Sylvester. They are the two quickest cars out there, and potentially when their cycles out, that will be the battle which becomes for the lead of the race. But for now, Nigel Greensall, ace, a historic racer nowadays, but double Eurobox champion back in the day, in this big BMW M3 chasing after Cole Swift, who won this championship in the last 3 years. He's taken with Rob Baker 17 victories in the ClubEnduro Championship. Can they win number 18 today? They've only lost on 4 occasions in the last 3 years. Today, they've found it a lot harder, I would suggest, to hit than they have over the last couple of seasons.
Certainly have. There's change of car, of course, what they've been used to screwing most of those wins in over the past few seasons. There is Will Stacey now in the number 48 car, so he was leading, of course, going into pit stops. We saw that situation where he sort of overshot his pit by the looks of it, and he pushed back into it. Had to drive in at 45 degrees, of course, so that, we think, lost him a bit of time. He's up to 6th place now, and he is, I think, about 6 seconds behind the nominal race leader, with the first 3 cars in the timing tower having yet to make their stop: Carl Swift, Luke Handley and Brad Caylor.
After the pit stop, so I think in Class B, Chris Plaskett is ahead of Scott Parkin. Assuming Chris Plaskett has made that pit stop.
Well, he's showing in 7th place overall, so I question that. But we will see how that all pans out.
Scott Parkin's only 12 to 13 seconds behind him.
You might be right there. So it could be it was a longer stop for Scott Parkin, and Plastics made it through.
So that tyre change, perhaps they couldn't quite do the tyre change in the minimum pit stop time.
Maybe so.
Feeling a bit like the start of the race again here into the complex with 4 of the top class A cars all together. At the back of it is the quickest of this group of cars, Dan Sylvester, who's absolutely flying this weekend in this Audi TT that Darkside Developments have got going. Just behind him there's a battle developing between Will Beach and Will Stacey. This is a battle for position, and really this is the battle for second of the pit stoppers, and they're absolutely wheel to wheel as they go across the line. We know the Seat's got a bit more straight line speed, but can Will Stacey hang this out round the outside? He brakes really late in the Lotus Elite and he goes through. So for now this is for 5th position, but it will be for a more significant place as the race goes on.
Certainly will be. So that's Will Stacey up to P5 ahead of Will Beach. And Scott Parkin clear Michael Downey as well within Class B as well. Still that damage on the front of the Bryson Beach Cupra, now driven by Will Beach of course. Just a bit of trim hanging off really. So now we've got to see whether Will Stacey can catch Dan Sylvester in the number 6 car. Well, last time through Stacey did 1:28.61, Sylvester did 1:28.48, so very similar lap times. Michael Downey coming into the pits, number 76, to serve his stop, as is the 17 car Spencer Forte, which has been in a couple of times already during the course of this race. I think there is on screen though, for those watching on the live stream, number 48, Will Stacey. And he is doing his best now with a bit of clear track to chase after the Dan Sylvester car that is effectively the lead of this race. But let's head down to the pit lane now and find out some more from Chris Stevens.
I'm joined by Ben Shaw. Ben, it feels strange to have had X5s out this weekend, and yet I haven't spoken to you at all. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going well, thank you. We are only going to do, or myself, sorry, is only going to do a couple of the MX5 rounds this year. We've also been really committed to that over the past 5 or 8 years, and we're looking to do a couple of slightly different things this year, including ClubEnduro.
Yeah, so what inspired you to team up with Ben Hansey and to do ClubEnduro?
I've known Ben for a long time. We've raced together competitively in the MX5, so I know he's a good driver and I rate him highly. He's a safe pair of hands as well, looks after the car. We just felt that we've both won the championship a few times now, and it was time to try something different, something a bit quicker. So we just took one of the old championship cars and bolted a Subaru Turbo on it, basically. Yeah,
I was just going to ask, tell us more about this car, because it isn't just your bog standard Mark 1 MX5.
So yes, it is, and it suffers a wee bit in the corners because it's one of the only cars here without aero or a wing or something like that. But it's pretty strong now in the straights, and the car's becoming more and more reliable as we use it more and more. So now reliability issues are hopefully, touch wood, put to bed. We can start to think about bolting bits of wood to the front bumper and all that sort of stuff.
We'll keep our fingers crossed for you. Just chat to us, Ben. Ian, Josh, back to you.
Thanks, Chris. Into the pits again has come car 69, so that's Andy Schultz back in. He'd only been out there for a few moments. Meanwhile, Will Stacey has eaten in a bit to the advantage of Dan Sylvester. The gap was down to 4.6 seconds. Just waiting for the screen to play. It's down to 2.7 seconds. So Will Stacey really on a charge now.
Yeah, and that is partially because Dan Sylvester is stuck in traffic. The traffic being Joel Oswick and Cole Swift. So quick, but not quick enough that he can keep this gap to Will Stacey, but not slow enough that he can get past it. So, as I say, it's a bit like getting the race all over again. There is the race leader, basically, Cole Swift, but there, number 6 is our leader in reality, Danny Sylvester, but there is the car chasing Will Stacey, who set another fastest lap of the race, a 1:27.20. We're on board with Sylvester now. He's quicker through the S's than Joel Oswick, with BMW M4s back up to speed through Croft. A big chunk of brake there for Oswick, before then braking much harder down into Sunny. But if you look in the mirror, you can see the Lotus Elise there. If you look at the top of your picture in the rearview mirror, you'll just make out the shape of a Lotus Elise, which is Will Stacey catching this Audi TT and then you're going to have a really cracking battle, I think, between these two cars here.
Well, we sort of saw these four cars together more or less, didn't we, in the early part of the race in a different order and on different laps, or on the same lap, on different laps. But effectively, this is the battle for the lead. We've got the race leading car, Carl Swift, pulling into the pit lane now, so that simplifies things a little bit. Just Joel Oswick ahead of him now, and as you say, that car which he was complaining of being under power does seem to be back up to some kind of speed now. There is Sylvester lapping Ben Hansey in that Subaru turbocharged RX-5, and then it is behind Oswick on the road. You've got Sylvester and then Will Stacey. So a real interesting look to this race at the moment.
And after the 3-minute pit stop for Carl Swift handing up to Rob Baker, we get an idea where that car is in relation to these cars heading through Tower Corner now.
Luke Handley will take over the lead of the race. Brad Kaler made his stop a few moments ago. Is he still in the pit stop still? Yes, he is. But he'll be back out shortly.
It's getting busy. Here comes Stacey up the inside of Sylvester. This is for basically, we think, the lead of the race. And through Barcroft, are we going to see a Lotus ahead? Just about. So through goes Will Stacey in traffic there into Barcroft. A bold move. But now he's going to have the BMW M4 ahead. So probably he might be able to put away in.
Wouldn't have thought so. It's, I think, the Paul Browse green BMW that they were just lapping. The Jim Clark, I think Paul must have got in that car now to take over from Luke. So that battle down at the complex, it'd be great for Will Stacey if he can clear here the Joel Oswick BMW, but we've seen that car, when it's got its power, is quick in a straight line, but it's out of the corner. Comes Will Stacey. He's alongside the BMW. He's level pegging with it. The BMW, this is a car that's a few laps down, remember, is still there on the inside. Is it going to let Will Stacey go? Well, whether it does or not, Will Stacey goes through, and now he's got a car between himself and Dan Sylvester, who's in effectively second position.
Yeah, Sylvester being frustrated, won't he, that he hasn't been able to get past Oswick, whereas Stacey did it immediately, and the Browd car back out of the pit lane, back off the road. I'm afraid Paul Browd a bit smoky there through Hawthorne. Meanwhile, there's Stacey and Oswick and Sylvester, but can Area Motorsport get Rob Baker out ahead of this pack of cars? That could bring that car back into contention. So that's Stacey just behind Sylvester.
Joel Oswick now 15 seconds of time penalties. He's exceeded the track limits again, but it's pretty academic from the point of view of the results. He's down to 15th position.
Okay, so into the complex comes Will Stacey and Danny Sylvester. Area Motorsports pit stop still ongoing. They need to get this car out of the pits. We'll just wait a moment, wait for an interview if Chris can hang on for 30 seconds just to see if Will Stacey does get out ahead of the area Gulf. I think he's going to. So Will Stacey a couple of times has had to work his way through the order, but in reality he is the new race leader with Danny Sylvester in second and Will Beach in third, and the Area Motorsport Gulf, the pit stop still continuing. So as Dan Sylvester tries to chase back after Will Stacey, let's head down into the pit lane and catch up with Chris Stevens.
I'm joined in the pit lane by Matthew Stockford, who's just completed his first ClubEnduro stint. How did it go?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Really enjoyed it. Glad the track was dry. It was pretty busy out there, but incident free, and I think we moved from 21st to 13th, so can't grumble with that.
And you shared with me some of your ambitions earlier. You're getting your signatures for your licence. What are you hoping to end up in?
Hopefully we'll be doing Brick Car by the end of this season, but we'll do a full season of ClubEnduro because it's great racing. It's really close. It's good.
Yeah, that's great to hear, and it's been so competitive just today already. It bodes really well for the season. Can you give us a little bit of insight into what adaptations have had to be made to the car for you to drive it?
Yeah, I've got push-pull accelerator and brake with a upshift on the top of the accelerator, and then downshift is a flappy paddle on the left-hand side. So yeah, it's all hand operated, so it can get quite busy in there. But yeah, it's all good. It works very efficiently. It's a DSG gearbox, so that's pretty quick.
Yeah, they've been telling me a lot of the times you end up one-handed on the wheel, so mad respect.
Yes, well, try not to do that too often, but definitely when I'm braking, which should be in a straight line, then yeah, there's only one hand on the wheel, but yeah, incident-free.
All right, awesome. Now, what are you expecting in terms of a result from this race now?
Oh, I mean, Alan's a very good driver. He's out now. If he can pick up a few more places and end up top 10, that'd be a brilliant result for us.
Awesome. Well, thanks for chatting to us, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
All right, Ian, Josh, let's go back up to you.
Thank you, Chris. It looks like the Browse car is going to be pushed back into the garage and out of the race. You can see that, those of you watching on the live stream. We've got just over half an hour left of this Tekiwa ClubEnduro Championship race. Luke Handley it is that is still, I think, still out there at the moment and leading the race, but it will be Will Stacey that takes over when he inevitably has to make his pit stop, Josh.
In Class B, Chris Plaskett's lead is down to 7 seconds back to Scott Parkins. There's a real chase now on in Class B as well as Class A battles. In Class C, Andy Shepherd has taken over the Ginetta of Rob Fennick and is just 5 seconds ahead of the Honda that they've had the race-long battle with. So all three classes, when you combine the gaps, doesn't come to much more than 10 seconds.
No, very exciting racing indeed. So past the commentary box now goes the race leading car, effectively the race leading car, Paul Stacey, and the car in second of Dan Sylvester, Mark Rice in third. So what is the between the three of those? Not very much at all, 10 seconds roughly. That is the Scott Parkin car, which is now 8.5 seconds behind Chris Plaskett in their fight for 7th and 8th overall, and also the Class B victory. It's a slower lap that time from Scott, but he is capable of lapping perhaps 7/10 of a second faster than Plaskett. So it's touch and go whether he's going to catch him, I would think, before the end of the race.
Yeah, it's a real battle, isn't it? Between the Area Motorsport Golf, the car that is still in Class B specification, the petrol Golf, and then the diesel Golf of Darkside Developments, and team boss Scott Parkin. Meanwhile, Nigel Whittingstall's had an off at Sunny. That doesn't happen terribly often. He had just been lapped by Will Stacey. Nigel's going to get the car back on the road, I think. He had worked his way into 9th position with just 6 seconds ahead of Alan James. So there you can see Alan James back into 9th position. So Matthew Stockwell is on for his target of a top 10 finish.
Yeah, certainly looks to be. Sure, fantastic result for them. The leader-elect has just gone across the line again. Just trying to work out where on track. There's Luke Hadley right behind us in the country box. Is he going to make his pit stop anytime soon? He's got 16.5 minutes left in which to make it, but he's going to dive into the pit lane right now, and so I think that will be everybody who's anybody should say, that has made their stop, and that would mean that once everything sort of filters its way through, Will Stacey will be back into the lead of the race proper, if you like.
He's 3.7 seconds ahead of Sylvester. He's slowly pulling clear. Interestingly, the front-wheel drive cars have been dropping away, haven't they? Will Beach, Rob Baker. Toward the end of Cole Swift's stint, I think he was struggling. And if anything, they lost out perhaps a few seconds in that safety car period. The others brought down the gap a little bit, not terribly significantly, I don't think. So probably it's always in this period where there's a safety car possible. Well, I would imagine it's better to pit early rather than late, because it's more likely to gain something.
There's the Class B leader, Chris Plaskett, on screen now in the 91 Golf, the Area Motorsport Run car. I should say it's the Darkside Diesel Golf that is his challenger. The gap back down to about 7 seconds again between them.
I think it was about 18 seconds, wasn't it, at the beginning of this stint. So he's halved it in probably about half the time.
That's Michael Downey, another of the Class B cars, but a little bit behind. He was his Porsche now, of course. The other car you can see in the shot there is the 17 Spencer Fortag Honda Civic.
Class B cars are going to be well up the overall order as well, aren't they? Now it's 7th and 8th.
Yeah. The Class A cars have gradually slipped by the wayside for various reasons.
There's got parking. 7.2 seconds behind the start of this lap. Basket did PB on the previous one, a 31.4. It's got parking now, just the fastest lap of the class of the race, so 1 minute 30.79, which brings the gap down to 5.7 seconds. There's Nigel Greenson, his car now, the grill is full of grass after the spin he had. He rejoined in 10th place, 5 seconds behind Alan James. That's quite a lot faster than Alan James.
Yeah, I mean, that's not 5 seconds now, is it? You can see the gap visually on the screen there, so we'll see how that pans out.
Sylvester into the pits. The car, off into the gravel, and the car off at turn 1. Who is that?
We can't quite see.
Chris Webster's Ginetta, the Rocco car, I think, now driven by Matthew Tidmark. So why Sylvester in the pits? That's the drama to follow. The car that should really be in second place, but it won't be anymore.
See, we've had a spin for the Honda Civic.
Still going on.
Yeah, it certainly is. That's the...
Yeah, it is Ginetta that I thought it was, which was well up in Class B, this car. It was in 3rd position. Matthew Tidmarsh and Chris Webster. So this will promote Ben Short and Ben Hansey's Mazda MX-5 onto a class podium position.
Luke Hanley's back out into the race, but I think Dan Sylvester's still down there in the pit lane, so not sure if we can pick up on that car that's down there, and see if we can figure out why it is down there as well. It is parked in at 45 degrees, so it's not getting any kind of penalty, I don't think, or anything like that. It's parked in its regular position in the pit lane. Was that spinning, the multicoloured Civic we saw was by Tortas Piperas, but yes, now the safety car is coming out to recover that Ginetta. This is with 27 minutes to go. There is the 6th car, Dylan Briggs and Dan Sylvester. Dan Sylvester was at the wheel of the car. Now that gets a drive shaft issue, so that brings their chances very much to an end in this race. Looks like they're going to try and get the car back out into the race, but it's obviously not going to be challenging for positions. Team driver out of the car, team working hard on it, Josh.
If Luke Handley could have stayed out for a few more minutes, got out and come into the pit just as the safety car, before the safety car was coming out, we could have had a very different complexion to the remainder of this race. But in each of these safety car periods, no one particularly has been advantaged, I don't think.
No, 82 car going down the pit lane as well. That's the Ben Williams car. Making another stop. It's been in about 3 times, I think, during the course of the race.
Nigel Greensall's spin, I think, put him a lap off the lead. And if he didn't have that spin, he would have brought himself right to the back of the queue. But again, that's ifs and buts, isn't it? But doesn't come to anything at the end of the day.
So let's have a rundown on the order as it is on the timing screens at the moment. So it is number 48. Will Stacey that is in the lead. Now up to 2nd place is number 27 Will Beach and Mark Rice. They've got a 5-second penalty though from early on. 3rd now is the number 1 car, that's Rob Bake, having taken over from Carl Swift. In 4th place is number 51 Luke Handley, but he has a 5-second track limits penalty as well. In 5th place is number 87 Brad Taylor in the Audi RS3. In 6th place is number 91 Chris Plaskett in the Golf GTI leading Class B. Ahead of 7th place number 89 Scott Parker in the Golf TDI. 8th place on the screen at the moment is Dan Sylvester, but he'll drop down the order. That will promote James Collins and Nigel Greensill car number 40 up to 9th place. Up to 8th place, I should say. Into 9th place will go number 78 Matthew Stockford and Alan James, and up into the top 10, despite his car stopping on the back straight at one point. Steve Cheatham in the Porsche Boxster, but he does have a 15-second penalty now. So Class B is 91 Crystal Plaskett from 89 Scott Parkin and Ben Short from Ben Hansey at 3rd in Class B. And then in Class C it's David Lawrence is co-driver Ilya Krylov, and then the second place car in that class is number 10, which is Andrew Shepherd and Teddy from Fenwick, and Valtortas Piperas is third within Class C as things stand. And we have further drama for Car 6, because there is going to be, which is the Dan Sylvester car, they're going to have 2 laps added at the end of the race, and that's because of the infringement during their mandatory pit stop as well. But it's going to be academic now, I think, with that car being worked on in the pits.
That's a big story if they didn't have that issue. So in some ways this helped Will Beach get closer to the leader, and equally it allows Rob Baker to get closer to him, and that we're pleased how this has worked out. He stopped parking, he wouldn't have been that far away from being lapped, and if he did and the safety car came out when the safety car was between himself and Chris Pulaski, he wouldn't have had a chance, would he? But now they're going to be pretty close to one another, and that Class B battle is going to be very competitive, I would imagine, on the restart. While the safety car's out, let's head down to the pit lane with Chris.
Well, Danny Sylvester, the car in the pit lane, not on the track where you want it to be. What's happened?
I just come around the last corner there. I think I was in P2 and just bang from the gearbox or drive shaft or something like that. So yeah, something's let go. It's a shame because the car's been really strong all weekend in testing in road sports yesterday as well. And yeah, I think we were on for a good result, but unfortunately had a mechanical failure by the looks. So.
Yeah, of course, we were running in a very competitive position before that happened, and some really strong pace in the road sports yesterday, so it must bode well for the rest of the season.
Yeah, for the car, I'm not going to do every round. I'm just filling in for Ryan Parkin. Hello, Ryan, this weekend. So, yeah, Ryan, the car's got pace, but yeah, it's a shame. Looks like something mechanical let us down, but it's very rare for one of these cars to do that, but sometimes it does happen. So.
Now, of course, you're a YouTube sensation, so is this going to make the channel?
It's good for content, listen, at the end of the day. I prefer to be having the car's first trophy though, but yeah, it'll be good for the channel maybe. So.
And what else can we expect to see you in this year?
So I'm still racing MR2s this year, and I'm also racing the 750 hot hatch as well, both 750 things. So yeah, you'll see me in them all year for the season.
Cool, great stuff. We look forward to seeing you out in that.
Thank you.
Cool, cheers. Ian, Josh, let's go back up to you.
Thank you, Chris. So safety car continued, possibly not for very much longer, because the recovery at Turbo is complete. That means the safety car lights will be extinguished and the race will get underway. We're going to have a 20-minute sprint race then at the end of this. We've still got 7 cars on the lead lap, and Will Stacey has 2 Class A cars between himself and Beach, and then there's a few more cars between Beach and Rob Baker. And then you've got Luke Handley on the lead lap, as well as the car that started by Brad Kaler. We believe that Dylan Bruchetta got into that, who started the Audi TT, so he can still have a good result. The green flag is waved then, and the race gets back underway with a gap of just 2.8 seconds between Stacey and Beach. And then Cole Swift on the restart had to wait for a Class C car, so it's dropped 5 seconds or so. Here are the Class B leaders though. This I think will probably be the battle to watch in these final 20 minutes. There is Scott Parkin, just ahead is Chris Pulaski. So these 2 Volkswagens, as it's busy at Tower, as Will Beach goes around the outside with about 3 cars there, I think, and has passed them all. So he can now set off after this car, the race leader, which is the Lotus Elise of Will Stacey, which is heading through Barcroft Corner. There in second position is Will Beach, still with that milk trim hanging off the front left-hand corner of the Cougar. Not an unfamiliar sight for a TCR style car to have that bit of damage.
Not really. And a reminder, Will Beach not only needs to get past Will Stacey if he's going to win this race he needs to pull out a lead of 5 seconds as well. So that's quite a tall order, because I would say it's probably 5 seconds behind the car. Now it's about 3 seconds behind at the start of that. So he really needs to make up 10 seconds in the next 20 minutes. It's going to be a big ask against the very talented Will Stacey.
There's our Class B leader, with the Class C leader, I think it's behind Scott Parkin then. He works his way here up to the final corner. The Class second, Class B, I should say.
Exactly. Although, how far behind is he now? Not all that far, I don't think. But it has changed.
Yeah,
it has
with
changed.
the class leader.
Yeah, that's changed unexpectedly on that lap. Chris Plaskett losing out by a few seconds there. There he is. And there you can just see the briefest glimpse of Scott Parkin having gone through. So we didn't see how that happened, but Scott Parkin has gone through to take the Class B lead, which I guess is what we're expecting after his qualifying performance this morning.
Not been as dominant as that though, has it?
No.
Chris Plaskett too much closer. Pit stops worked in his favour. Here with the Class C leader, I think in the background, which is Ivan Krylov, only a second or two ahead of Andy Shepherd Janetta. So Class C is still good to be contested. There's the Class C leader, there's Janetta just behind.
Yeah, that's right. And then another of the Class C cars behind that. Spencer Fortag, very experienced driver now. For different categories is Spencer. Well, the leader's gone across the line again. His gap was 4.86 seconds. Will Stacey over Beach. Get an update on what that gap is any moment now. 4.14, so it has come down. And Will Beach is just on the car's best lap of the race, 128.26. So he started to eat into Will Stacey's lead.
Well, he's also obviously trying to do with that penalty is make a 5-second gap over Rob Baker, so they've got to second place, and it's about that now.
And the car that is second in Class D, in Class C I should say, the car on the screen now, that's going to get a 5-second penalty for track limits infringements.
Another one to add to the rowing list, and that helped for the car of Isla Krylov. They won from slowest car in qualifying, Lawrence and Krylov, so they've got some big gains since then. But they're now leading the way ahead of this Janetta G40.
Yeah, and Spencer Fortag's actually got ahead on the road of the Janetta as well. So there is Class B leader now, Scott Parkin, and he's now just about 2.5 seconds up the road from Chris Plaskett. Closing in on the road on the Steve Cheatham car, which is actually a lap or so behind. There's the Brad Kaler car, which I think has now been handed over to the Brit in 5th position. Joel Oswick still circulating as well, and he's just a personal best lap of the race, actually 128.53 in that car. So if it wasn't for that strange period in the middle of the race where he was down on power for some reason, he would certainly have been in contention for the victory, although he has got these 15 seconds of track limit penalties as well. But possibly he may not have incurred those had he not been pushing on so much in this second part of the race.
Right, there's Parkin, he leads Class B now by 3 seconds. Both Parkin and Plaskett both did PBs last time. Just 4 tenths of a second between their best laps in qualifying. It was a just of a second. Parkin's done a 30.49 best, which is a new lap record then on that last lap. Scott Parkin, new lap record in Class B. Meanwhile, the car that was third in Class B, Ben Hansey, is in the gravel.
What were the use that Ben Short used to describe Ben Hansey? Safe pair of hands, was it? Off into the gravel trap has gone, I'm afraid. Ben Hansey from a strong position. And also, actually, there's 2 cars there, because the Michael Downey car is there as well.
Who was 4th in Class B, so that's 3rd and 4th in Class B. I think they're the only cars left in the class that are both in the gravel, so the safety car comes out again and will pick up the race leader.
This is the 4th time, isn't it, the safety car has been out?
And where's the... Oh, yes, sorry, the second place car is right behind. But obviously with that penalty, that's going to bunch them up then.
It is. It's going to make life well, sort of interesting, isn't it?
So these two cars in the gravel are battling for third in class.
Yeah.
Are they allowed to rejoin if they get dragged out of the gravel or not?
Don't know.
Might be a race to who can argue to get dragged out first.
Ben Hans is getting out of the car, and then he's seen the cavalry arriving.
Oh, there's one for each car. So is this a race then?
Yeah.
Third in class?
And now it looks like Michael Downey's going to have to head back to his car. Now he realises he's going to be.
I think there is a lap between. So did Downey go off and then Hansi? Well, perhaps they were together on the track. There is a lap between them. I didn't realise that before.
Yeah. No, I think maybe right.
What's on the track?
I can't see some kind of debris down there.
Still looks could be different. Right, was over the top of it.
Yeah.
Now it's disappeared.
Yes. So we're probably going to have about 10 minutes to go once the race gets back underway, aren't we?
10 minutes actually. Many cars still running, isn't there?
We could probably count them as they go past. I will endeavour to do that.
Probably in about 15 or so.
Right. This isn't going to make good telly, so you talk, Josh.
Ben Hansi's car's been dragged out of the gravel. You can see, like Ben Schwinn said, it's a pretty standard MX-5 if you look at it, but with a much more powerful engine. And already the Porsche, I think, is out of the gravel, so this shouldn't take too long.
17, I think. 17 cars out there circulating.
It's been a bit of a traditional, not just this race, at the weekend, because we had cars testing that withdrew after problems. We've had cars have problems in road sports yesterday that have now withdrawn. We've had cars have problems in qualifying that then withdrew ahead of the race, and then during the course of the race, cars have been withdrawn. But however, it's still been a very competitive race despite that, because there are still 7 cars on the lead lap, so more than a third of the cars still running are on the leading lap of the race.
Yeah, and we started with 30, I think, but we've lost a number during the race. Going backwards in terms of number of laps completed, Dan Orsano, Michael Dodd, Charlie Dart, Andy Roby, Jim Benson, the Wilmot car, the Livery and Vessel Ginetta, the Browns and Browns BMW. Spencer Fortach still circulating, actually, but we've lost Hampson and Schultz, we've lost Abortion and Johnson, so they possibly are. But we lost Tid Marsh and Webster, of course, as well. We lost Sylvester and Richter. And there's others. Safety car's going to do one more lap, I think. Although the circuit does now look to be clear down at Clervaux corner. So, best lap of the race, that's gone to Will Stacey earlier on 127.20, 86.70 miles an hour. 800ths inside the record set by Andy Schultz last year. Best lap in Class B, that's gone to Scott Parkin, I think, for 130.49. That's also a lap record, 300ths faster than Chris Freeman's lap record last year. And Class C, I don't think we are tripling the lap record in that particular class on this occasion. So 11 minutes to go, there'll be 9.5 minutes by the time the cars come back round. So we get something like 7 laps out of that. Assuming we have no more caution periods, of course.
2 Class B leaders are back together, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true.
That is what Watson Parkin, can he hold off this gasket? So lap times have been fairly similar in the end. Our Class C leaders are still fairly close as well. Class A is a little bit more set because of the penalties will be, otherwise it's been quite an interesting restart.
It would have been very interesting indeed. I'm sure we'll be trying to find a way past at the start. Safety car lights are out. Stacey is hanging well back from the safety car, the driver from Whittam. Looks like it's going now, and Will Beach go with him. So back slowly and gave the safety car plenty of clear out, and it looks like he's made a pretty good restart actually. This one, Will Stacey, and he's going to be just about 9 3/4 minutes in fact left to go as he comes across the line this time with the green flag waving. So the gap between first and second, there's about a second between them, 1.17 in fact. So Will Beach needs to make up about 6.25 seconds then to win this race in the remaining 9.5 minutes.
We'll even finish on the podium because as it stands, the Baker and Swift will be second. Third will be Brad Kaler, who we think can share it with Dylan Pachetta in this race. So Baker blue. Time to find for Will Beach in these final 9 minutes. There's Luke Handley, who's also got a penalty. That's why the Kaler car, just behind it on the road, could be moving up the order once penalties are applied.
In fact, John Elsey gets it there again. There's pictures all the way around the circuit. So just good photographer. His images on social media on his website in the next few days.
When I left the circuit last night, he was working on the pictures of the main building. He was still in the same spot when I arrived this morning.
He never sleeps, that man. So dedicated is he to the course. So there is Chris Plaskett then. He is just behind Scott Parkin, I think. Yes, there's one car between them, in actual fact, that being the number 82 Class A machine. At the end of the lap, the gap was 1.17 seconds between Stacey and Beach, and at the end of lap 64 it's 1.72 seconds. Although Will Beach is just the best lap race for that car, 127.92. Stacey still pulled out about 5 or 6 tenths.
And he's building a gap, isn't he, to Cole Swift? Not yet 5 seconds, but it's heading in the correct direction as far as Will Beach is concerned. So that's potentially good news for that team. Through there goes Alan James in their Audi. Yeah, dynamic front car. There's the Beal Battleman. Diesel power ahead of petrol power at the moment, but not by very much. Chris Plaskett, who hasn't done very much racing, the driver from Surrey, and second in the class, only started racing last season in this 2-litre VW Golf GTI prepared by Area Motorsport. Bennett turns up a few racing, he only started back in 2019. They turn their way through Sunny and up here towards the complex. They're the only 2 cars still running in the class, and they're about a second between them. So we've lost quite a few in Class B.
We certainly have, and hopefully we'll have more out to start the next race in a month's time. There's the view from the pit wall.
New fastest lap, new lap record for Will Stacey. 127.11 to extend his lead.
Light fuel loads and clear track will work in his favour there, of course.
The tyres have held on pretty well. Being a lighter car, you'd think the Lotus should look after its tyres better, particularly than the heavy front-wheel drive cars. Okay, the rear tyres will be okay, but the fronts.
There's Phil Driver going through shot. There's Steve Cheatham. He's in 10th position. A lap down in the Porsche, and there's Chris Plaskett, 1.5 seconds only behind, 1.3 seconds only behind Scott Parkin now.
He was quicker on the last lap by half a second.
Is there a late change there in the offer?
Potentially better though. If you can't make any errors right on the edge of the track there. Gap second to third then is 3.7 seconds on the road, which translates to 1.3 seconds after penalties. And Cole Swift handled within 5 seconds of Will Beach. There's the B leader then. Parkin turning into the final corner.
Yeah, he's about to go on to another lap, 5 minutes to go in the race. Stacey leading by 3.57 seconds now over Mark Price, but it's over Will Beach today, but it's more importantly now the gap behind Beach, and the gap from second to third is now nearly 5 seconds.
Looks to understeer there for Scott Parkin. He ran very wide through Hawthorne, but probably didn't lose too much. With a couple of seconds now ahead of Chris Basket. The other thing though is Scott Parkin will be aware of this to make sure he doesn't exceed track limits, because that would change the complexion of this race.
Absolutely right, needs to keep it neat and tidy. Gap between them was exactly 2 seconds, I should say, at the start of the lap. Just gone out slightly. There he is, heading around Croft towards Sunny. He's got Cheatham a lap down ahead of him. Will Stacey's coming through with about 4 minutes to go, so probably going to be 4 more laps actually. The drive-through penalty for somebody I can see being advertised from the pit wall, but I can't see who. Can't see a notification of that on my messaging service.
Speed leaders through again. They are coming up other cars, that's a problem.
Will Beach is now more than 5 seconds clear of Rob Baker, as well as that's Vitaltas going off again. Pipiras, Vitaltas Pipiras. That's an eventful race.
Is he third in class?
Third in class, yeah.
Not too badly. There's Janetta.
Second in class, yeah.
That car's got a penalty as well now.
They have. It's had that for a while.
And then look forward a long way behind. I pull off in the Honda. So that's Class C pretty settled. Class A leader still Stacey is about to lap this car. I think we're going to have 2 laps to go, aren't we here?
Yes, looking at it, I think maybe right. So Will Stacey goes across the line now with 2:26.86. It's going to be 2 laps remaining.
Yeah, I guess it's quite good to know the penalties for, just in case that is going to change the result. Whichever car it is, if they don't serve the penalty within the next 2 laps, I guess that'll be an added post-race penalty.
Yeah. Carl Swift, you can see watching on from the pit wall there. His teammate Rob Baker is going to be up in second place. Steve Cheatham out of the race, or is he? Maybe he's the one serving a drive-through actually. Would kind of make sense because he'd already racked up 15 seconds of time penalties, so that would kind of make sense that he'd then have a drive-through next. So Steve Cheatham, yeah, he just drive-through back into the race, and yeah, that'll be the first part of this infringements, I would think. Will it bring anyone else up into the top 10? Possibly not, looking at the lap charts.
So, the penalty that is going to change the result a little bit is Luke Handley's looking to tailor Audi up to 4th, which means we're going to have 4 different kinds of car in the top 4. Lotus, Seat, Volkswagen and Audi. So they make their way through again, and Will Stacey's lead up to 5 seconds. Now the gap second to third 6.2 as they finished the previous lap. They come through again. Can Rob Baker get that back within 5 seconds?
We'll have to see. Last lap board is out, and Will Stacey is already at Hawthorne on the last lap, making
Used to be pretty neutralised with the safety car. Now that's not quite the same, so I think it's going to be a bit difficult. So we'll see.
Lots to look forward to in future races. Scott, congratulations to you and the Darkside team. A fantastic job. Let's go and talk to Dan Lawrence and Ilya Kryov, who took the Class C win in the foundation car. Fantastic job, guys. Ilya, talk us through it.
Well, what can I say? I mean, all those years, me and Fast Dave training paid off. I mean, highlight, pinnacle of our careers, winning. I mean, in all honesty, that's all him, because he was the first driver, and I have no idea where he got it from. Literally climbed 5, 6